Hey guys, I'm John Setzler and welcome back to Man Cave Meals. Got a little off track on getting these bacon projects done, so we're going to kick it back up today. I'm going to show you how I make cinnamon buns. So let's get started. We're going to get started on this dough for these cinnamon buns. I'm going to give you all of the ingredients quantities in the video description here. So I've started out with my milk, and I've heated my milk a little bit in the microwave up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to dump my yeast into that milk, and we're going to let that bloom for about 10 minutes before we move on. I've got my flour in the mixer bowl, so I'm going to add my sugar and my salt, and I'm going to take my whisk and just kind of give that a quick mix. I've got 2 eggs that I'm going to dump in there, and then we're going to start the mixer slowly with the dough hook, and then I'm going to drizzle in my yeast and milk. And once that's in there, I'm going to let this go slowly until it forms a shaggy dough ball. And after that starts to come together, I'm going to add my butter, and I've cut my butter up into smaller cubes. We're just going to toss that in and let that continue to go. And we're going to let this knead for probably about 12 to 13 minutes. Okay, when the dough is finished kneading, it should be pulling away cleanly from the sides of the bowl. But one of the things I've noticed in all the times I've made this dough is that it'll come out differently each time. Sometimes it's going to be stiffer than others. Sometimes it's going to be really loose and really sticky. So if you want to add some additional flour during the knead, if it looks like it's going to be too loose and sticky, you can do that. You can add an additional 20 or 30 grams of flour. So what I'm going to do next with this is I'm going to take it out of the mixing bowl, and we're going to transfer it over here to a bowl that I've greased. So I'm just going to kind of form myself a loose dough ball here, and I'm going to roll it around in this greased bowl a little bit, flip it over, and then I'm going to cover that with plastic, and we're going to give this somewhere between 1 and 2 hours to rise until that doubles up in size. Our dough is almost finished rising, so I'm going to get my filling mixed up, which is just a simple mixture of brown sugar and cinnamon. And once again, I'm going to give you the ingredients quantities in the video description, and also pay attention in that if you are using Saigon cinnamon or the really strong Vietnamese cinnamon, you may want to use a little bit less, which is what I'm using here. So we just want to mix that sugar brown cinnamon up and whisk that together. I let this dough rise for about an hour and 45 minutes and got that doubled up nicely there. I think that looks pretty good. So the next thing I want to do is just roll that out here onto my cutting board. I'm going to use this plastic cutting board as my work surface today, and this thing measures about 15 by 20, which is about exactly what we want for this. I'm going to take my rolling pin and roll this dough out to about the size of this cutting board. And once I have that rolled out, I've got some butter that I've softened in the microwave to get it nice and soft, to where I can just use my hand to spread it out evenly across the top of this dough. And as I spread that out, I'm going to leave just a little small margin at the outer edge of the dough. And once I have that done, we're going to take our cinnamon and brown sugar mixture and dump it on there, and we're going to spread it out evenly across the top also, leaving about the same margin. And once I have that spread out, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to roll it from the short end. And what we want to do is kind of roll this as tightly as possible, keeping it even as we go. And then I turn that back long ways on the board, and I'm just going to kind of roll up over the end of that and kind of pinch this together at the seam and make a tight seam there. And once I get that seam tightened up, I like to kind of pack this guy together a little bit from the end. And the next thing we need to do is cut this guy into segments. And what I want to do before I start that is I like to use my Asian knife here. I've got my Shun. Because it's got a thin blade, I like to hit that blade with a little bit of cooking spray, which makes it a little easier to slice these up. And I want to slice this into 12 pieces. So in order to do that, I'm going to very carefully cut it in half, and then cut each half into a half where I've got quarters. And then we're going to cut each of these into thirds. And now that I have these cut down, I'm going to transfer them to my baking dish. Today I'm trying out this new Lodge 9x13 cast iron baking dish that I bought. I'm going to put these all in here, and once I have those spread out evenly in the pan, we're going to cover that pan with a towel, and we're going to let that rise for another hour. While those cinnamon buns are rising in the pan, we're going to go ahead and make our cream cheese frosting. So I'm going to get my butter and my cream cheese in the bowl of my mixer, and I'm just going to cream those together. And as that creams, I'm going to slowly add in my powdered sugar until I have it all added. And then when I have all that added, I'm going to add my vanilla. And I'm going to let that beat here for about 30 more seconds, and then we'll be done. Okay, I've risen these in the pan here for about an hour and 10 minutes or so. And these are ready for the oven. So I've had my oven preheating at 350 with convection, or if you're not going to use convection, use 375. These guys are going to get about 30 minutes, so I'm going to pop them in, and when they're done, we're going to come back and have a look. Okay guys, I've taken these out of the oven, and I have to admit, I have never had these things come shooting up out of the middle like that. I did use a different yeast on this batch, so that might have had some impact on that. Typically these all come out looking like that, but I've had some of these push up out of the middle, which is going to be fine. So I'm going to let these guys cool for a little while, and then we're going to come back and ice those with our cream cheese frosting. So I have taken the liberty of smearing some of that icing on these and getting a nice coat on there. You want to do it while, you don't want to do this while they're hot, but it's helpful if you do it kind of while they're warm. And guys, you're going to enjoy these. This is a recipe that I got from King Arthur's website. It's called Buns, and I'll put a link to that in the video description, and along with I'll post my version of it. I've made a few minor tweaks to it, so guys, give these a try. Let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Man Cave Meals.